Hi, I'm Rosemary Friesen, and I'll be telling you about Riverside Unified School District. This is my school district that I work for and I've been a part of for the last 15 years. Here's a quick overview of our demographics. We have over 42,000 students. We're the 15th largest in California and 121st out of the nation. Otherwise, we're kind of middle road for most things in the country. We do have a diverse population. 60% of our students are Hispanic, 64% are low income, and 17% are English language learners, which is quite a lot. Our average class size is high. Number of students per teacher is not great. We don't stand out in a good way at all there. It's a weakness. Some of our distinctions, on the other hand, is we do have a lot of awards. I want to tell you about the Golden Bell Award. That was for our K2 Institute, which is a remediation program to help students learn to read by 3rd grade. And that won the Golden Bell California Award. And I was part of that process, so that was very cool. Another thing I wanted to point out is that we had some reports that we have some top high schools for America. So that was really cool. Something else that the district is informing and very proud of is the career technical education, and this is for students who are bound for a career but not necessarily for college. So as you can see, some different things like police officers and working in the film industry and stuff like that, and it's really giving a new pathway for students to graduate and to make the best use of their education. And that program has been growing in the last couple years. Alright, let's look at LCAP. A lot of these graphics and information are from Ms. Kirsten Renaud-Frausto, who's the Director of Strategic Initiatives and Program Development, and they were shown to me at a Superintendent's Advisory Council, which I'm a part of. Over this past year, we meet once a month and look at different concerns of the district. So, as you can see, the 3 goals of our LCAP are really kind of easy to understand. Goal 1 is about quality teaching. 2 is about making sure students are actually prepared. And goal 3 is about engaging the community. Then another way to look at it is looking at the conditions of learning, student outcomes, and engagement. A very nice graphic done by the district to communicate our priorities. Another really very informative graphic shows how the board goals, which there's 6 different goals, are part of LCAP and they're actually integrated together. You can see some of the things I'm going to actually talk about. Literacy by 3rd grade, that was one of our goals, which we won the Golden Bell Award for. The implementation of the Guide for Instructional Direction, that's a document that I helped work on and collaborate with this past summer, and it was rolled out this year, this school year, and it helps everybody be on the same page in terms of what do we do as instructors, as an educational community. Then we have a professional growth system, which is coming out next year. And we have emphasis on English language learners and STEM Academy, which is the sciences and math. And then you can see our goals from 2015-2016 that are continuing. And I want to point out the Family Resource Center. That's something I'm going to be talking more about because that is something that helps low income and other people who have high needs. And it's something that's a strength, but it's also a weakness. So I thought this was a really important graphic to show how LCAP is affecting our district. And this shows that we want engagement from everybody. We want stakeholders, from parents, from students, from the community. And it talks about 23 events in 1 survey. Well, the survey is the Gallup poll, and the district's doing the Gallup poll for students and teachers. And it's basically evaluating, letting us evaluate how we feel and what we think about the district. And it really includes our social emotional involvement. How much are we bought into what we're doing? So one thing the district is doing is looking at the stakeholders, looking at the community and students and teachers, and saying what are the things that we identify as strengths and what are the areas of needs. You can see I'm only going to be talking about a couple of them, not all 18 areas of strengths or not all 28 areas of needs. And this graphic really pulled out the top 11. And I should mention that closing the achievement gap is kind of our primary theme. But you can see that they have 11 goals that have been really brought out by the community. Another way that the LCAP is being communicated to teachers in the community is through this graphic, which shows how we are measuring all of our goals. So you can see like the CELT scores are used to measure English language learners, and you can see that we're using the growth model for academic indicators instead of pass-fail, like do we all meet the same exact standard. So this is a very great communication to see how our district is doing, what our goal is in terms of the LCAP. Let's look at spending now. So unfortunately, our district is still spending a lot less than the rest of the districts around the country. This weakness is being addressed by initiatives like Measure O, which was passed by voters this last election, which brings in more funding for our district. This is a graphic showing our basic overview from RUSD, and 77% of our budget is being spent on teachers, salaries and benefits. It's hard not to be biased because I am a teacher, and the way that I look at it is that teachers are the most important resource and factor in the classroom, so it makes sense that our budget reflects that. To look at our spending in a little more detail, we are trying to make up for the lack of spending per student. So we have goals to increase revenue. Measure O was passed, which gave us almost $400 million, plus potential state funding. We also are planning the next measures already for voters to be voting on, so that we're already, before the Measure O expires, we're already planning ahead. We know we have more things. We have a 25-year long-term plan, which has a $1.3 billion need identified. So that's definitely something that the district is being proactive about. Also, we had a very large reserve, a rainy day fund, and it was larger than was federally recommended and larger than other districts had. And so the superintendent decided that we needed to decrease that and actually get that money spent on students. So we have a lot of short-term goals that we're spending, and you can see that even though our income is only $466 million, we're actually spending $500 million. So that's coming from the reserve. Let's look at communication now. The district is trying to really be good at facilitating communication. And so you've seen all the graphics that have been provided by the district. Here's another brochure that's for parents, and it shows the LCAP goals, and it shows the money. Like, we're being very transparent what we're spending to make sure those things are happening. Here's another one that shows the actual how we're meeting those goals and the percentages, and you can see over the past 3 years that we have been meeting our goals and increasing our percentages. And then we have our target goal for 2020, which is we're on our way to meeting. So here's an area of weakness. This is a family resource center, which is great, but it's not something that is being communicated very well. We have over 60% of our students are low income, and yet most people don't know about the Family Resource Center, which was implemented just a few years ago. So it has made contact with 10,000 parents. It's not like it's not doing anything. But at the Superintendent's Advisory Council, one of the teachers asked, where is this place even located? And nobody knew. Everyone was like, I do not know. So obviously teachers don't know about it, and that's a big problem. So facilitating communication is something that needs to happen more, and the district knows it. It has been trying to do a better job. One of the innovations is that we're going to have town hall meetings used with some technology, such as Facebook or Twitter. We have Justin Grayson. He's the manager and public information officer, and he's really invested in telling the district story through all types of media. And so that's really hopefully going to help us to spread the word about our good things that we have to offer. We also have the instructional direction guide, which I talked about earlier, and this is something that we collaborated on, and it was published this year and given to every single teacher and administrator in the entire district. And there's a picture of me holding my copy, and it basically just shows what we do instructionally and what the vocabulary is that we're using, like Tier 1 and Tier 2 and universal access and all of those things. And it also talks about the Family Resource Center. So it really has a big overview of who our district is and what we do. All right, let's look at technology. So we are not one-to-one at our district. We do have more devices than most districts in California, and we are one-to-one in many of our elementary schools. We also have a lot of purchases, but not a lot of training, so that's an area of weakness. And we are going to have a new website rollout next year that's better designed and more user-friendly. Also, I want you to see on the left that we've had a big change in the way our technology has been approached at the district, and that is, instead of having like a technology department, we have instructional support, technology services, innovation, research. All of these things are really looking at how students and teachers are using technology to support the other purposes. So it's growing and it's changing and it's becoming a little bit more strategic. Let's look at instruction now. So with Common Core, our math curriculum became pretty much obsolete, even though we had just adopted it. And instead of using the math curriculum that we had adopted, the staff developers were put into committees and taken out of the classroom to make a resource guide for elementary school and a resource guide for high school. And this basically is a supplement to our math curriculum, and we're supposed to teach and use the assessments and activities from the resource guide all the way through the district. We don't have a plan for adopting a new math curriculum, and there's some of the reasons outlined, but mostly because they're not really proven to be Common Core related, and also a lot of districts who have been fairly successful in their math have been using open education resources, so we might move towards that. Right now, teachers have a lot of anxiety without a math curriculum, so it's a big area of concern. English language learners is another area of weakness in our district. As you can see on the graphic on the left, that the number of redesignated students has actually dropped and then just started kind of creeping back up, but still, it's not a good percentage. On the other hand, we're not completely failing our English language learners, because we do have a decrease in dropout rates. So that means we are engaging them. And I think measures like the Gallup polls is really helping to do that. So next, I want to talk about the growth mindset of our district, which is a real strength. The first example of the growth mindset that our district has is our professional growth system, which I mentioned earlier. The professional growth system is going to be implemented next year. This year was all about designing it. And it's basically going to start with new teachers and then work its way up to supporting other teachers. And it's a system of coaches, of teachers who are selected for their excellence, who are going to be helping. Now, it's not only going to affect teachers, because principals are also part of the implementation. And the superintendent's ultimate goal is for the entire district to have a professional growth model. And he, in fact, is in part of a professional growth group of superintendents and leadership. So he wants to professionally grow and model that even he has weaknesses and needs to improve, which is pretty awesome. Another way that they have a growth mindset is that they're inviting constructive criticism. They have hired an outside company to come in and compare them with better districts than ourselves and look at how RUSD is functioning and finding their strengths and their weaknesses in really specific areas. And then the district is responding to the data that they got. One of the responses that they've already implemented is going to Montgomery County, which is a really good school district that's got a lot of strengths, and collaborating with them and having them look at us and say, okay, how can we improve? How can we do what you're doing so that we can be a better school district? So here's an overview of our strengths and our weaknesses. The district has great communication. A lot of great infographics and a lot of great technology innovations. Long-term planning, definitely looking at finances in the 25-year plan. The district has a growth mindset, which I think is really compelling. And one of those things that I just want to remark about again is the Gallup polling, is that actually to engage students and teachers at the emotional level and to care about how much we buy into the process. I think that's kind of an amazing thing that they're doing. The investment in the teachers has been a big change. Our salaries over the past 4 years have increased, and the professional growth system shows that we really want teachers to be the very best, and we don't want teachers to leave our district for better salaries elsewhere. Technology is one of our strengths. Many schools are one-to-one device to student. Our Department of Technology is growing. A lot of emphasis is being put there, and people is to coach and train. And then our intervention, like the K2 Institute, which is helping early intervene between the achievement gaps so that kids are already starting out with a good foundation. Our weaknesses, we still have not been servicing English language learners like we should. We still don't spend as much as we could be on students. We have an inefficient administration, and that was pointed out by that outside company. They showed a lot of different things that could be improved in like the payroll process and online access. We have a lot of resources, but they're not known, like the Family Resource Center. We still need to push that out there so that we can actually utilize that. Our technology implementation, even though we have a lot of technology, we still don't have a lot of research and support for teachers, and we do not have a Common Core math curriculum in our district. So that brings me to my recommendations. For English language learners, I recommend that we have a research committee to look at best practices and to find out how other districts are actually doing it. Also, I would recommend that our professional growth system emphasize English language learners as part of their training and coaching for teachers. That way we have more accountability. Right now we don't have any accountability except for the end of the year test, and that's not really going to inform instruction. Teachers need immediate measures of accountability. We need people to be able to be responsive to the accountability to say, oh, this is working or this isn't working, and then be able to change instruction accordingly. Our spending per student, my recommendation would actually just be to continue their measures that they started to supplement the budget. And for our inefficient administration, for payroll and for personnel, I would suggest that they adopt a better software program, because that's really holding us back in a lot of ways, as well as giving teachers online access to their information. Right now you have to make phone calls or have a personal visit or send an email instead of being able to look up yourself, like what's your salary, what's your benefits, all those kinds of things. And then our website, if we redesigned it so that it was more user-friendly for teachers, so that we could get the information that we needed instead of having to, call up or talk to somebody. And for resources for disadvantaged people, I recommend that the district ask principals to utilize at least one staff meeting to communicate these resources. That way teachers are aware of it, and then they can decide whether or not they want to do a parent night or something beyond that. But they should at least do one staff meeting dedicated to that. Also, that they create a better online presence. It's very difficult to find out information about the resource center. So with the new web design, I would recommend that they have a better online presence. For technology implementations, I would recommend that the district reinstitutes the technology facilitators that they used to have a few years ago. And that's where you have one representative from every school who meets monthly with the technology department to talk about what's happening at the schools. I think this would facilitate more communication and help the district to make better decisions about their technology implementations. And finally, for the math curriculum, even though we don't have any viable curriculums to adopt right now, I would definitely suggest we adopt a curriculum. Teachers need a systematic method to teach. We can't be reinventing the wheel every year. That's just unsustainable. And here are my resources for my presentation, and thank you so much for listening.